getting everything.
We're here to build your dream team, building futures, that's our theme. Key Tech Talks will show the way, with Key Global, spread your wings.
Welcome, bienvenue. Welcome once again to another Key Tech Talks, starring Lauren Halket, founder of Key Global Recruitment, and of course, owner of Key Tech Talks. And today we're delighted to have in the virtual studio Evelkah Powell, co-founder of Cohesia Connect. Now, I don't know a vast amount of what Cohesia Connect is about, but fundamentally it's about inclusion and HR, and she's going to tell us more about that. But first of all, Lauren, welcome, and thank you so much for putting this other Key Tech Talks on. Would you like to jump in and start the process?
I absolutely would, Gareth. Thank you so much. And Evelkah, thank you so much for joining us in the studio and another episode of Key Tech Talks launches. So I just wanted to jump in and ask you the first question, which is, are technical skills now more valued than soft skills? And how can job seekers really keep up with that, Evelkah, do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. And thank you for having me on your amazing platform and, the great work that you do. I guess, firstly, just to introduce myself so people know who I am a little bit before I get into the question. So I'm Evelkah Powell, and thank you, Gareth, for the amazing and warm introduction as well. We, as a inclusion consultant, looking specifically around culture engagement, culture transformations in the organization, a lot of our work is really held around ensuring that each organization can provide really solid cultures in terms of that foundation to encourage sustainable growth. And through that, we look at all the different kind of skill sets, and technical skill sets is one of them in which we look at, in particular, predominantly because of my background. And just in terms of me a little bit, I actually migrated from to the UK, shall I say, around 13 years ago, really learning about the different cultures and the world of work in the UK. And that in itself was a culture shock. So I think a lot of my learnings and engaging with tech professionals, especially as my journey went along, was crucial. And through that, I learned a lot about the different technical skills. Not saying I'm a technical person myself, but I learned a lot through them. But in terms of your question in particular, I think there is a balance to have, because we can get so caught up in learning, C# or learning how to build a software program or coding and whatever it is. And then we have the soft skills on the other hand, which, communication, confidence, being able to, encourage, I would say, in terms of using that initiative to take roles or to take tasks to a next level. But I don't think that there should be one or the other. I think we should have a balance of both, because I've been with organizations or people in particular, and they can talk all about the technical side, but then I'm sitting there confused and I'm just like, bring it to dummy terms for me a little bit. How can I bring it to layman terms? I don't know what you're speaking. So I think that communication aspect is really vital when you are speaking to the CEOs about whether it's a technical transformation that you're trying to implement in the organization and how that will have a wider impact. Additionally, soft skills such as taking initiative. How could we take this project to the next level or this task to the next level? How can we find, innovative solutions and work with different teams? I think from a technical landscape, a lot of the technical individuals, they stay in their bubble and don't really at times
venture outside of that.
Venture out and learn more about how the project does have that wider impact. And so for me, what job seekers should be doing is not only learning all of the technical landscape and how to do this, but also looking at, okay, I have this project or I have this task. how will I be able to communicate this? How will I be able to demonstrate this to an audience that isn't technically advanced or has no technical knowledge? And I think there is a fine line. And if we take this a step further, or a step back, shall I say, when you are going into recruitment interviews, Lauren, you do a lot of recruitment in this space.
Yeah.
So there is that aspect of, tell me what you do and how can I, present you to the employer to demonstrate the best version of yourself. And if you can't communicate what you do and how your technical skills can add value to the organization, the likelihood is that you'll be unable to secure that opportunity. So it's really vital that we ensure that we have that balance of, I have great technical knowledge, but this is how I can communicate it and add value to an organization.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? That's a great point, Evelkah, because we come up against that all the time. I think. And I think, when you're interviewing these people, I think it's about, making it fun, because, this landscape can be where, people hibernate, should I say, a little bit. And, they aren't as, kind of confident as they want to be, sometimes, because it's all about innovation and the next product and the next project and the next technology. And because, they're so good at what they do, but they're very, very, kind of in their own little box, in their own little bubble. And it is the soft skills, that does need to have that, kind of uptick, because if they are such great talent, which they are, but if they can't demonstrate how they've done that or how they've got to that point, then nobody's going to see their talent. See them in their little spotlight. So I think it's about, your hiring process. What could you do to encourage them to come forward a little bit more? I think it's...
And be their authentic self.
Yeah. How do you help them to become their most authentic self and thrive in their own space? And I think it goes back to, what we've talked about with, neurodiversity, in recruitment processes is... because there's a lot of neurodiversity within, the tech space. And I think it's just about making it fun, making your hiring process fun, making adjustments, along the way, because, one software developer could be so far different to the next software developer and, their confidence levels, etc. And I think as a HR department, as a people department, as a recruiter, as an agency, you have just got to be willing to be dedicated and passionate to, diversity and inclusion in general, no matter what. And I think it is, like you say, about just, making slight adjustments along the way and making it case by case as well. Because not one developer is the same as the other. Not one confidence is the same as the other. So I think you've just got to be, you've got to own, that D&I space, and you've got to keep adjusting, for the talent for the technical talent that is coming your way.
100%. And I think you actually kind of read my thoughts a little bit, because what I was also going to add to what you were saying is, I think I don't want to say a lot of, but there, to an extent, there are some organizations, there are some agencies that just focus on a linear, conventional recruitment process when it comes to tech. You apply for the job, you do the technical skills, you have a first, second, or third interview, and then you get hired and go through the process. I think we are now coming to a stage in how recruitment has evolved where we don't need to be as conventional as we've done in the past, because, as you rightly point out, everyone is different in their own way, and what works for someone in that conventional way may not work for someone who does come from a neurodiverse background. So how are we been creative and innovative in terms of our own hiring processes to make those reasonable adjustments, those reasonable accommodations that will enable people to show their best selves. So whether that is getting them to create a presentation if they're more creatively attuned, or is it that you kind of do, like, instead of a video, some people don't like video, so are we going to do it in person, or could we just do an audio over the phone or over Zoom or Teams, whatever it is? You know, how are we making those accommodations for those people that will allow them to shine and allow them to put their best foot forward, you know, in the capacity that works for them? When I was doing some recruitment work previously, I had a few individuals ask, can I have the interview questions beforehand? Believe it or not, a lot of organizations refuse that. And I'm just like, an interview is not a test. It's a two-way street. I should be able to ask you questions in the same way that you should be able to ask me. It's a two-way street. You have to like me and I have to like you. We have to both make it work. So long are the days, in my opinion, that interviews or recruitment processes should be a test or should be a way to get people to be thrown off guard, and more in terms of let's create an environment, a recruitment environment that will enable you to be your authentic self and to be able to present your best capabilities, even from a tech landscape.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I'm totally with you on that one. So I think we've absolutely smashed that one together, Evelkah. I think we've made some really good points there. And I think the viewers will enjoy some of that for sure. So I'll move on to the next one. In that, is the job market shrinking, or are skills just mismatched? What do you think?
Oh, this is a really good question. I actually had a journalist conversation just the other day about this whole idea of the skills gap and what's out there.
Yeah.
Two things from my perspective. I do believe, talking in the context of the UK, there is a huge concern about tech skills and the different STEM skills in general. And I think whilst to an extent that is true, I do believe there is a huge proportion of people that do have those skills, but they're not given the opportunity. So the way in which that, for me, that comes across is, we may have a slight skills gap, but the real gap is in the opportunities. We have an opportunity and accessibility gap. A lot of people aren't able to access those jobs or those opportunities because they either hand it down to other people, or, you know, they're not advertised in the way that they should be, or the recruitment process is so rigorous and so rigid that they don't allow people to shine, like we've discussed earlier. So for me, it's not just about skills being mismatched. I think people have great skills, and I do strongly believe that talent is out there. Organizations, and to an extent some agencies, just aren't able to tap into that because we have such a linear view of what a tech person should look like, or how a tech person should behave, or what kind of organizations want. They go by paper. Oh, this person doesn't look to have this person, blah, blah, blah. And one recruiter that I spoke to, she looks at her approach slightly different. Is, okay, yes, I've read your CV, but I actually want to pick up the phone and call you and get to know you a little bit more, because I do think that there is something there. How can I make this a lot more easier for the candidate, but also for me? So when I go back to the organization or the hiring manager, I can say, actually, this is their CV, but by talking to them and by building a relationship with this candidate, I know XXX, and this is why I think they would be suitable for a job. I think because recruitment has been in this, I guess, system where we're just churning out candidates, churning out jobs, we have lost that sense of passion and purpose of we're doing it for the people.
Yeah, absolutely. So I been doing quite a bit this morning, speaking to a fair few candidates about our roles, and I got some really good feedback, to be honest. And he'd actually said to me, a chap, technical, obviously, because that's what I specialise in, is technology, sales and technology. So we build sales teams, you know, that have a technical and technology and an IT background. But he said to me, you know, I've never had this experience before of somebody actually calling me like yourself and, you know, caring, you know, so much. He said, I can really tell, Lauren, the passion in your voice, and you know, you've just wanted to really get to know me. And he was just, you know, he was just so grateful. And you know, he said that there should be more of this. You know, he said some of his experiences just been, you know, recruiter would phone him, I mean, and just, you know, tick the box. Okay, yes, you've got this, yes, you've got that. Okay, off we go. Let's get you off to the client. And it shouldn't be like that, Evelkah. You know, recruitment is the thing that I find really frustrating is, you know, recruitment is people's lives. It's their career. It has a family around it sometimes, you know, and it's a big move. Sometimes it can be a massive move for somebody. Somebody might have been at an organization for 10 years, you know, and it's a big step for them to take. So, you know, recruiters, you know, should be taking that extra step of really getting to know their candidates, what makes them tick, you know, asking them what goes on in their you know, what do they do personally, what are their hobbies, you know, as well as their experience, what are their greatest achievements, you know, where's their weaknesses, what do they think is transferable straight away, you know, and what is their 5-year plan, you know, what or 2 year or whatever that may be, you know, what is their plan. You know, some of those are really important, and that actually shows that you know, excuse my French here, but that actually shows that you give a shit, you know, about the candidates and you know, and what you do. And I am so passionate about recruitment, and hence why obviously neurodiverse. So, you know, people, you know, did find it hard to kind of keep up with, you know, my passion. And, you know, I couldn't be in the employment world. I needed to be an entrepreneur because of my, you know, neurodiversity, because, you know, I always wanted to be, you know, I've got that creative mindset, you know, I've got that, you know, ridiculous amount of passion, you know, I'm really fast paced. So, you know, that's, you know, having my own, you know, agency is perfect because, you know, I'm so, you know, innovative, I'm so creative, but still,
and you get to set the tone.
Yeah, but never, you know, nevertheless, even if I wasn't, you know, and I was in an agency, you know, I think good practice, you know, be respectful, be like you know, be consultative, you know, be partnership led, you know, give a shit about your candidates by going the extra mile. You know, don't just be a sugar rush. Don't just want to put bums on seats. You know, actually try to be, you know, that consultative partner where you come across as an agent and you're giving advice to your candidates. You know, I am constantly looking at, you know, CVs and saying, you know, why don't you review this? Why don't you move that from there and this from there? Because it shows them that you're not just, you know, you're not their, you know, next commission. You know, things like that. You know, it really shows.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off, but I think you've hit the nail on the head with that, because it's so important that we do that. And I think what is important is we fight for our candidates when we go into hiring managers. A lot of recruiters don't have that fight to be like, I disagree with you, Mr. or Mrs. Hiring Manager. I know the candidate can do X, Y, and Z. We don't have that tenacity to do so. We just want to be able to put bums on seats and keep the cycle moving.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not, like I say, it's not fair. You know, I don't think it's fair. And that's why, you know, I went out alone. You know, I know that I have my, you know, struggles of my, you know, neurodiversity. Yes, I do. You know, how I receive things, you know, I have to have things breaking down for me. I have to have adjustments as an entrepreneur. However, it never ever stops me from showing my passion to every single candidate and every single client. And for me, it is not about bums on seats. It shouldn't be about bums on seats. It's not fair for the industry to be like that. This is people's lives that we have in their hands. And, like I said before, it's, they have a family at the end of the day, or even if they don't have a family, moving jobs is difficult for most. It's overwhelming. The interview processes, then you've got to go into an organization, then you've got to get used to, a new culture, a new way of working. So, you do have to go that extra mile, for your candidates to understand them, understand what they want, other than skills. Where is their vision for the next 5 years? Make sure that you align your candidate to the business's goals, and vision, but get to know them as a person outside of their skills. They have hobbies, they have personal traits. Get to know that as well as their skills, and get to know what is, where do they want to be from now up until the next 5 years,
100%.
and just make adjustments. Because, like I say, there's so much neurodiversity within tech. These people are going to really struggle to come forward with that. And it's for you, as recruiters, to show them that you really do give a shit and you are really passionate, and make it fun.
Yeah, be human.
Human, after all. So we'll move to the final question, because we are unfortunately running out of time slightly here. So, Evelkah, the final question would be around is diversity in hiring real progress, or just a box ticking exercise?
There are so many angles that I could target this question, but considering that we are short on time, I will try and kind of narrow my response to this.
Okay.
I think there are two camps. There are definitely organizations who continue to do it to tick a box and meet a target or a metric or whatever that is. But I think for the large part of organizations who do want to make change and to want to see sustainable growth within their organization and within their industry, there are organizations who does want to actively recruit and diversify their talent pool that they're going to be reaching out to talk about new opportunities to, but also in terms of the roles that they want filling. I think we talk about diversity largely in terms of gender and ethnicity and sexual orientation and all of that, but diversity of thought is equally important. Are we getting, or are we attracting those who think differently to us? Like we have discussed throughout the theme around neurodiversity. These are people who will think differently to us and who will probably bring more innovation and more creativity and more profitability in an organization. So are we actively, using that as a value or as a way in reaching those audiences and reaching those people who can be able to challenge us, who can be able to bring new insights or a new methodology, whatever it may be? I do believe that in doing this, we are able to make real progress. And I do think that the organizations that have done this well, are currently doing this well, will be able to make progress. And then in 5-10 years' time, we will see those organizations actually surviving, while a lot of organizations dipping or going bankrupt or being made redundant or being sold or, being acquired by those companies that actually want to make the change. Yeah.
No, I agree. I totally agree with all of that. And the ones that, make the progress, that show passion, that are dedicated to this and make those adjustments, are the ones that will be, that will stay ahead of the curve.
100%. And overall, I think the more committed you are, the more results you're going to get from it in general. So,
thanks, Evelkah.
This has
So,
been
yeah.
great. Thank you for this engaging discussion.
Oh, it's been fantastic. It's really, really great to have you. So
I've been really enjoying it, actually. It's quite interesting. You don't get these sort of discussions shaping up the way they have done. Great work there, both of you. Really got me entertained. And guys, all of you out there, I want to just quickly talk about a couple of things. Thank you so much, Evelkah, for coming on. I've got a little ticker box. If you want to find out more about Cohesia Connect, please contact tinyurl.com/Evelkah Powell. That will take you directly to her LinkedIn page. I suspect if you have a conversation with her, she'll gen you up on how this can really help your organization to interact with them. And also, I want to talk a little bit about Key Tech Talks, and more importantly, Key Global Recruitment. Now, Key Global Recruitment specializes in technical recruitment. Our sweet leader here, Lauren Halket, is the person behind that. Can you see the QR code bottom right? Please scan that QR code and get in touch. I think you'll find that you'll be thanking me later. I just, to all of you out there, thank you for watching. Watch out, there's plenty more coming. Lots of gas in this tank. And Lauren, thank you so much for helping put this on, and Evelkah for having created sparkling conversation. And for all of you out there, just keep your feet on the ground, keep reaching for the stars, and let's look after that mental health. Until next time, goodbye.
thank you.
We're here to build your dream team. Building futures, that's our theme. Key Tech Talks will show